Hello. So, modal monogamy is the view that it is conceptually impossible to love more than one person at a time, and Brake disagrees with this view for a variety of reasons. The first being that human experience really tells us otherwise. There are plenty of people out there who have experienced loving more than one person at a time. For example, someone could be in the early stages of falling in love with someone new while still being in love with an older connection. And I was thinking this is a really popular trope in rom-com movies and romance novels, so I think we have to acknowledge that it definitely exists out there. And then Brake also goes on to question, why do other forms of love or other types of love, like why are they not held to this same standard of exclusivity? Why should romantic love be any different? We don't exclusively love one child out of all of our children or one friend out of all of our friends, or at least we shouldn't. So why does romantic love have to be that way? And then she also goes on to say that we are likely conflating our cultural norms with what is actually true by nature. Just because our culture has always valued and promoted monogamy doesn't mean that human beings are truly monogamous by nature. All right. And then Brake goes on to talk about a variety of benefits of polyamory. The first being that it promotes traits like non-possessiveness, radical honesty, open communication and transparency, emotional work, self and other awareness, and freedom, really. So these relationships are meticulously built so that each person isn't harmed. So they're really dependent on trust. So these traits are really important for a successful polyamorous relationship. So it really helps each individual, obtain these traits over the course of the relationship. And Brake also goes on to discuss what she calls compersion. And this is the delight and joy that someone feels seeing their lover, loved one, uh, be loved by someone else. They feel happiness that the person they love is getting more love. So she really discusses this as like the opposite of jealousy. Now, do I believe that polyamory is moral and desirable? I'm going to answer these questions together because my reasonings for both are the same. But my answer to both questions is yes. I agree with Brake that it is both moral and desirable. Uh, you know, these relationships, like I said before, are meticulously built on trust and consent. So they are structured in a way where nobody in the relationship, hopefully, will get harmed. So it really does follow like respect for persons and things of that sort. And not more importantly, but the main reason I say yes to this is because I believe human beings are uniquely different. We don't all have the same desires and needs and wants and those things. So polyamory really lets people tailor relationships to fit their unique desires and needs. That monogamous style relationship isn't a one size fits all solution. So polyamory really lets people be their authentic selves and pursue their true, authentic needs and desires. And also, like we were saying before, polyamory promotes the traits of non possessiveness, open communication and transparency, emotional work, honesty, self and other awareness, and things of that sort. So I think that's really important too. And then also, polyamory could broaden people's social networks. They could have more resources and more emotional support because they have more connections that than people do in monogamous relationships. Now, the arguments against polyamory that Brake discusses includes that it puts people in danger of contracting more STIs, but that's not true because people in polyamorous relationships often get tested for STIs more often than people in monogamous relationships. And like we were saying before, they build these relationships with their own boundaries and limits. So there, I'm sure, are heavy discussions about what forms of protection, contraception are being used. So those rules are kind of laid out from the beginning. And there are also arguments that it could harm children who are involved or other family members, but there's no evidence of this because polyamorous parents are generally like well educated, successful, they have plenty of resources. So it doesn't really harm the children other than the social stigma that comes with being a child of a polyamorous relationship. Like we were saying before, this does broaden social networks, emotional support, and it introduces the children to more resources, more attention, more love, and more parenting styles. So rather than harming the children, I think it is actually really beneficial for children to have more than one parent. And this isn't something that is uncommon today with the way, divorce rates are, step parenting, and things of that sort. Or like our situations, we were not in the custody of our biological parents as children, and we had other people who took care of us that took on that parental role. So it's not unusual for children to have more than one set of parents. And then there's also the argument that there is unfair treatment among the people in the relationship. But as we've been discussing, these relationships are meticulously structured to benefit everybody who is involved. If there's somebody who is feeling like they're being treated unfairly or not given enough attention, the relationship is dependent on open communication and transparency. So these are issues that are likely able to be solved if they appear at all within the relationship. But yes, I do agree with polyamory. I do think it's moral and I do think it's desirable. Thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to hear your response.